This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social and Association with Empire Fight Store, Forged Irish Stout. I'm ready to fight. Always a pleasure, Mr. Charlie Edwards on Zoom. The new year has begun. You're looking well, my friend. I know that you're certainly in a sort of better mindset than the back end of last year. It was a little bit of a frustrating time, but going forward into 2024, you're positive, things are good.
Yeah, in a positive mindset going into 2024 in a really good light, I believe. The back end of the year, like the last 3, 4 months, I got my own manager's license. So I've started managing myself, which has allowed me to not be blocked, any roadblocks in the way, to be able to speak freely to many people, and people actually want to work with me. So it weren't ever me. Do you know what I mean? So it's good. 2024. I'm going in with top 15 world ranking with the WBC. So I've got a few hits on my radar. Put a call out video out last at the end of last year. Oh no, the beginning of this year, and it's been good. You know, like I've always been a quiet fighter, but I believe like looking at the likes of like the YouTube even industry that's come on the scene. Us as fighters, we got to learn and we got to move in the new direction of online media. And shy kids never get no sweets, you know. So I've made sure I've made some noise coming into the new year. And yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. I think this is going to be a year I'm going to boom back on the scene, and all that hard work and dedication and sacrifice and consistency that I have continued to put in behind the scenes, away from the lights, away from the cameras, away from the big shows. It's all going to show, and I believe it's this year.
Charlie, just now you mentioned about like a management license. Is that sort of just in terms of like guiding yourself or other fighters as well?
For now, it's to guide myself. I've learned a lot of valuable lessons throughout my pro career, um, which I have had to endow. I made a few bad decisions, some very bad decisions looking back, but it's lessons that I have learned from, and I believe that no one can guide my career and want it as much as I do, as bad as myself. I've always got on with everyone, every promoter I've worked with. In the boxing scene, what you see is what you get. I'm a social butterfly. I can go around and speak to people. I'm well respected, and I've got a brain on my shoulders, you know. And I'm fed up of people holding me back through their own relationships or whatnot, and being lied to. Like I don't want to be lied to anymore. I want to be able to deal with situations and be able to negotiate and be able to be in these rooms with the promoters and chase the fights that I want to chase. Like I'm not doing anyone else. I'm not being like a pawn in a kind of chess game where other people can fuck me up. And I believe it's a good move, smart move. I'm going, like I said, 2024. I'm managing myself. A former undefeated world champion, and I'm top 15 in the WBC. So currently a free agent as well. So I'm going into the year very powerful position, and it's time to take that into my own hands. You know.
You talk about making bad decisions. Now, I think the last time we caught up, we've spoke since, of course, but like on an interview perspective was in October when Cattrall fought Linares, and you
Yeah.
were quite emotional and probably like reflecting on that would have been certainly a strange time for you. And at the time, you told me that you'd split with Joe Gallagher, but you weren't willing to really speak about the intricacies. Now, reflecting. Is there any light that you can shed on that whole situation?
Um. Well, reflecting on that situation is, look how inactive I was. I got nothing. Do you know what I mean? So, what does that show? Like, that speaks volumes. You know, everyone can see I've always been in the gym. I was going away from my family for like 5, 6 weeks at a time, being told I was going to fight here, fight there, this person, that person, like, and it was all bullshit. It was all I got fucked about. I've invested time, energy. money in my career to keep this dream alive, to become a multi-weight world champion. And I just got sick and tired of it, you know. It's not fair. You're playing with someone's livelihood, you know. You're playing with a family's livelihood, happiness, and everything. And I want boxing more than I've ever wanted it. I love the sport of boxing. It's my passion, and I deserve to be in the lights that I used to be in. So looking back, probably the worst decision I ever made in my boxing career, in my honest, humbling opinion.
What was the straw that broke the camel's back for you? What was the final sort of point where you sort of realised? I mean, I have your box rec here. Like you say, that there was just that one fight in June, I believe it was. But from then it was a little bit static. All September, either one. Oh no, it was June. Of course, it was June. But it just was. At what point did you just say no more? And why was that decision to say no more?
I mean, it was, to be fair, it was my wife. Like I've always been a very like trying to let people do their job, and try and have belief and trust in the team that I have around me and who I've decided to go with. But when things aren't materializing, and it's not just once, it's twice, it's three times, you're getting ignored, you're not getting nothing back, and it's just not benefiting you. Do you know what I mean? Like it weren't benefiting me in any way. It sent me into like a bit of moping around, negative mindset. And when I'd finally decided, my wife spoke up to me. She could see it happening to me, and it was affecting my family life.
I was just going to say that
You
you
know?
ended up having sort of your spats with your brother
Yeah,
back of it, and
it was like it was affecting my family life. Um, I was listening to the wrong people, um, and it it affected my family life. And that family means everything to me. I love my brother dearly, you know, and it was just something that it was like a switch hit, and I woke up from it. And then once I woke up from the spell, then I started looking back and reassessing things and looking through things, and I just weren't having it no more. You know, it just not on.
do you think perhaps in hindsight, looking back at sort of maybe a state of hopelessness and because you'd had such a lack of activity over the time that maybe that was what led you to sort of believe that that was the right path for you, the fact that you sort of you'd been so down and out and maybe you didn't know what was right for you anymore?
Yeah, it was. I suffered with a bit of like I went through an unconfident stage, and I went through it like, as it's well documented, like my mental state weren't the best, but like, and I wanted to believe what I got told. I wanted to believe, and I had false sense of hope sitting there, just kind of like just hoping it's going to come, it's going to come. But when things don't come and don't come and don't come, and everyone's like, "What the fuck has happened to Charlie? Is he retired? What not?" And I'm grafting my bollocks off day in day out in the gym, and sacrificing family time and causing stress. Like my wife's looking after my little daughter. I'm missing that valuable time that I would never get back, being told lies about this, lies about that, and it yeah, it pissed me off, and I got fed up with it. So it was just like, what am I gonna do? Like, am I gonna sink? Like, am I gonna fuck my whole career up? I'm still young. I'm only 30, coming into the peak years of my career, and it's time to take matters into my own hands and guide my own career. And with all the relationships that I have had throughout my professional career, and how I've got on with every promoter I've ever been with, and for some reason now they weren't interested, or I had to look at it from not an emotional perspective, but the reality. You know what I mean? And like, as I got closer back with my brother and my thing, like I see it all for what it was. And my wife was like, she wanted me to speak up a long time ago, but she allowed me to come to my senses on my own. And now since my eyes have been open, I don't think I've been in the boxing media so much. The last 4 months managing myself, my relationship's grown with my brother. back sparring with him. So many people are talking to me more and actually tell me what I thought might have been my only head, but hearing other things and other stories, it allows me to think, fucking hell, why ain't you told me this whole time? Do you know what I mean? But you got to open your eyes up yourself, and that's what I've done.
When I saw you, it was quite I suppose a dark time for just from what I can sort of entail from my own sort of being around you and everything. It seemed like it was quite a dark play. You mentioned that sort of the UK fans would come up to you and they would ask when you'd be out again, and the reality was you
You
just
got
had,
no answers,
yeah,
no
that
one,
reality is
and
you
you're
just
getting
had
live
no
bullshit.
clue.
And whatever you say is another lie, and then it makes you look even worse. Do you know what I
So
mean? It's
how
hard.
how difficult was that? Because now we look at sort of, and it was sort of like and you won't mind me saying because you've sort of said this yourself, but it was like 100-0, right? You went from being the world champion, and there was like no gradual, or like you know, you had the fight with Martinez, and then you sort of found yourself, but it just went to this whole heap of inactivity, going
Yeah.
from like 100 up here to sort of where you were. How damaging was that to you mentally, and sort of what impact has that had on you to this day? And I feel like now you seem like you're in the healthiest position you've been in years.
Yeah, I feel like it was like clear to see. Like I even watched some of my interviews back, yeah, where I looked gone behind the eyes. Like I looked like I don't recognize myself in them interviews. How I'm speaking, like the hunger and passion and all this. It was tough to get through, but I think it's made me the person I am today. I'm also a big believer of the power of the universe, like the things that I have asked for, that what I want to achieve in the sport of boxing. I want a legacy. I want to be a multi-weight world champion, and I'm coming to the peak years of my career. But I feel that sometimes God gives his hardest tests to his toughest soldiers, and I have to walk this path, and I had to go through all this turmoil and shit which I've never been through in my whole pro career. I was like GB straight on with Eddie. I got beat for my first world title against Casemiro, who was a two-weight world champion, a killer in the division. Then
Back
I
and
bounced back and
learning.
become a world champion. So I had a career that was like it was all going in the right direction. Yeah, I had a little dip, but I would go. But these 2 years and has been the most mentally challenging time to get through. But I'm grateful for it in a way because it's made me the person I am today. It's given me the experience, the knowledge, and the power to be a grown man. Like I've developed into a man. I'm in a different mindset, and that's powerful because I'll take this mindset and all this struggle and turmoil, and it will go into my performances. And that's why, like, I'm doing call out videos, and that's why I'm pushing my own career now because I'm confident in my own ability and and what I need to do to get back to where I need to be, and it's working.
Let's talk about the Paul Butler fight now. Just while we're still on this whole topic, I'll bring it up. We will obviously go into other clashes that
Yeah.
you spoke about and other fights that you want, but why that one specifically? Is there any more backstory that we may not know as fans?
Um, from a personal perspective, I've got all the respect in the world for Paul. Like on a like day by day when we was in the gym, we'd always chat here and there, personal, like on a level outside of boxing. Cool, nice guy. Like I like him. He's got good morals and whatnot. But it's boxing. Like there's no friends in an industry, especially at your weight, and we weren't that close. Right, it makes perfect sense. I'm ranked number 15 in the WBC. He's ranked number 7. We're both from Britain. I've just had one British fighter completely swerve me to go and get knocked out in the first round because he knew I would have done the same to him. And it's just not on. Like, why can't I have these big nights? And to have a big night in Britain at our weight, it needs to be either against like a pound for pound star, who everyone knows, or it needs to be against a British fighter. But let's be real, me and Paul, both former world champions, chasing another world title in the same organization. So it makes perfect sense for us to fight. And I know his promoter wants to fight, and I believe Paul would probably entertain the fight. Would he be confident in beating me? Maybe not, but he's a fighting man. Like, I shared the same gym with him, and we must have sparred. One of the reasons why I went there was because world class sparring. I must have sparred him about 4 or 5 times, and he never ever took a round off me. And I believe I was knocking his confidence, and it's just materialized that we never sparred. So it's a whole waste of time. Like, it's like two world class fighters in the same gym. You should be like pushing each other to go to a new level. And he had these fights with Casemiro and Inoue, and I'm there in the gym not getting no sparring rounds with him, not being able to mix it. And I'm thinking, like, what the hell? And I've been
So
quiet for
you
too
weren't
long.
sparring with him in the build up to those fights that he had in that time where you were both
No,
in the gym.
no. Work that one out. It's ludicrous. But he would get sparring partners in who he was
Charlie, sorry
obviously
to
giving
interrupt.
confidence.
Did you never question that at the time?
Yeah, I did question it, but I was. Do you know what? I did question it, but when I fell out with my brother about everything, yeah, we had some words, and he told me about everything, but I wanted to not be wrong, and that was my own ego problem. So
Okay.
I tried to keep believing that it's gonna work, but really I should have just listened to my brother. Do you know what I mean? Let us be
Fair enough.
real. It was embarrassing, you know, and I'm not saying it weren't Paul's decision, I don't believe, but it was obviously Joe's decision why we didn't spar. Maybe I was getting the better of him. I've never lost a spar against him, and I was dusting him up, if I'm honest with you. But I still have respect for Paul. But I'm just speaking what I know is the truth, and it just didn't make sense to me. So this is like me sitting on the sideline and getting my career wasted, and like me and Paul are in the same weight. So I'm sitting there thinking, what? What's going on? Why ain't I getting fights? Why this? Why that? Why that? Do you know what I mean? And he's shining bright, and I'm like, right, I'm better than this guy. I know it. People in the gym have seen it. Why ain't I getting my opportunity? So coming out of that gym, why wouldn't I chase that fight? You know? And the only reason why that fight won't happen will be because Joe Gallagher and his ego. That is it.
How does that fight go, Charlie, if it does happen?
I beat him very comfortably, and I believe I could knock him out.
Okay. Okay. Right, let's move on to like the scene as a whole then, because you put out your call out video, and actually I didn't know until you mentioned to me about this sort of self-management thing, and now I sort of dot the I's and cross the T's. It makes sense because that's actually when, off the back of you posting that video, was when I reached out and I thought, well, if you're doing
Yeah.
this for your own socials and stuff, we may as well do a bit for Boxing Social as well. So you've since then had a bit of a bite. Jason Maloney, WBO
Yeah.
champ in your division. He says that he would entertain a fight like that. I think he's interested in coming over to the UK. I mean, let's
Yeah.
talk about a fight that gets the juices flowing. That's really it. Firstly, do you need like a middle ground first, or do you believe that you're ready to go straight into a clash like that?
I believe I'm ready to go straight into a clash like
Yeah.
that. I don't believe in warm-up fights. I believe when my back's up against the wall, I've not been inactive within the gym or in sparring. I've been
No.
performing like crazy, like probably performing better than people do even when they're coming into fights, you know? So I want my back up against the wall where I'm fighting on the edge of my seat against someone who I highly rate and who I believe is a great fighter. So be it he's got the world title, yeah. He wants to come to the UK. He's alliterated that in an interview. So I just want big fights. I'm 30 years of age. I know I'm probably starting to look it now, but but I want to be a part of big events, you know. And when I perform my best is when my back's against the wall. Through my career, I've always gone away and fought hometown fighters in their hometown. I've always took risks. John Real Casemiro in my 9th fight. Who does that? Yeah, maybe if that was in this day and age, how much media attention would that have got? Do you know what I mean? Like, and then I've gone and fight Rosales, who was coming off a 3 knockout streak and was #1 in the division, and I got voluntaried it. And I took him straight away with no like, oh, I wanted the IBF champion. No, yeah, I'll take him. Yes, I'll take my shot. And I've always been like that, you know, like my mandatory got called when I probably should have moved up the weight, but no, I decided to stick to my guns and try. Yeah, and that's what I want. I want big fights because that's where I get the best. And like I believe in myself. I'm confident, and I know when I'm in the right space here, which I am in now, and I've worked hard to get in, I can beat anyone, absolutely anyone.
You've now
So why warm up? Why warm up to have a slip up, or for someone to say, "Oh yeah, maybe, oh Charlie, he's dipped a bit." Yeah, why do you think people dip in warm up fights? Because they're not really even up for them. Let's have real fights. Come on, 2024, all promoters are on the same vibe. Real fights only. Stop playing at it.
you've teamed up with Stephen Smith. Now,
Yeah,
firstly, we know how well the Smith relationships are with sort of every promotional outlet and
yeah.
everything, and whether it be like the lads now, Liam and Callum. Callum
Mhm.
obviously had that strong relationship with Matchroom, but Liam went away, worked with Boxer, the Sowlands on the Eubank fight and everything, and everyone always sort of praises the Smiths on their sort of ability to cooperate and work with everyone. You're now with Stephen, who sort of makes a bit of an endeavour himself as a trainer. Why was it? How did it come about? And talk me a little bit about why that was the perfect move for you.
Um, I'll be real with you. Like coming up through the amateurs, and when I was younger, Swifty was always older than me, Stephen, and I always rated him. It
Okay.
was like someone I aspired to be like and looked up to. Um, he's gone through his own pro career. Yeah, he didn't win a world title, but he's competed at the top of the top levels. He's won British and Commonwealths. I think he's been in 2 world title fights, and one was supposed to be against Vargas, but because he failed a drug test, it didn't happen. So he's been in the sport of boxing his whole life. He's been around his brothers his whole life. He's been to the biggest of shows and experienced Canelo twice, and other big fights, George Groves and stuff, and being in it himself, and the Andre Ward. Like he's been around this like experience journey for years and years and years. And I didn't actually know he was in the coaching realm, and I had a little conversation with him on like what show was it now? I think it was I can't remember anyway. I think it might have been a Liverpool show a
Was
lot
it
longer ago.
Catchall Linares in October?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We sit in ringside, and obviously word gets round and how you've been treated and stuff and da 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 da. And he just vibed with me, and we spoke on a level, just like normal chit chat. And we left it there. We spoke for about 40 minutes, and we really got on. We always have got on. We fought on the same bills when we both were Matchroom, and he's always shown his time and effort to me, even as a young prospect coming through. So I always had a lot of respect for him. I travelled the world with Callum, so I really get on with Callum. Paul's a great guy as well, and Liam is too. So I then went to my strength and conditioning coach, Johnny Reynolds, who works with loads of top fighters. I went down to Birmingham while I was in England and just done a session with him. And he told me that Swifty, the week after, like I'd just been speaking to him for all that time, was going into the training route. And I was like, it's just a penny.
Got you.
Low power mode. The penny just dropped, and it was like I was really like my next decision to go into like with trainer and everything. Like I usually always rushed, but I left this time to just keep training myself, training with my good friend over here who's a good pad man, called Rodrigo, and I was just letting things unfold while I was working myself out, because I don't want to make another bad decision. You have to learn from your mistakes, and I just could not think of who I wanted to go with, like trainer wise. And it was like I was thinking here, thinking there, but I realized like where I'm at in my career and off the back of inactivity and stuff, like I didn't know where to go. And when he told me about Swifty, it was like it was like it was meant to be. The
Yeah.
penny dropped. We got put in touch with each other, got his number. We spoke. Then he come over to Portugal for a week's training, like so we can test each other. Callum come over and done a bit of training at the beginning of his Better BF camp, and Steve Clark, who's fighting on Tasha's bill in Liverpool, and they all come over. We gelled up. I done pads with him. I know he's got a good boxing brain. You don't need to be a. You don't need to. You round the boxing scene. Everyone speaks very highly of Stephen. I know he's got a good boxing brain. I know he's experienced in all the major big fights. So we hit pads for the first day, and we just like hit it off and gelled massively straight away. And what he was alliterating to me and how he saw things and stuff, I was just like, wow, you just can't buy experience. Like someone who's been there, done it all with an open mind and realize like what kind of approach he would have on me compared to his other fighter, compared to this fighter, it to add to our abilities and strengths. It was just like mind blowing. It really was. And then I was waiting to do a week's training with him because I was going to decide. But after the first day, I went back and spoke to my wife. She met him, so it was quite a personal kind of relationship straight away. And she was just like, "You're absolutely buzzing. I haven't seen you like this ever. Like you're on fire. Like the way you're." The way you're talking about things, the way you're setting shots up with you straight away and stuff. She goes, I think this is right. Like, and everything sometimes happens for a reason, and we've waited this long. And going into 2024 with it puts you in a very powerful position. And it was just like I knew then, and I was like, nah, do you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait it out a week. I don't want to seem too keen. Like, da da da. And she was like, really, okay, if that's what you want to do. And then I sat on it and thought about it, and I was like, the next day we went on a little run, and I just like I kind of just asked him straight outright, just like off the cuff, and he was like, it was a special moment, but a moment that I know is right for me and my career. And yeah, people might say like, because it's interesting from the outside, because he's only just turned into a like decided to go down the coaching route, and then a former undefeated world champions teaming up with
I
him.
think
It's a bit
people
like,
like
whoa,
it.
what's going
I
on?
think people like it.
I do, I do. And coming from where I've been to where I'm going, it's been such a positive move. I've got full trust in Stephen, and I really believe he's going to add and bring something out of my game that no one has ever added, and that's because of the way we think, the way we talk. Even when we're not in the gym, we're discussing loads, and he's so passionate and hungry. And yeah, he never won a world title as a professional boxer, but we'll go win a world title as a coach, and then you're in the same club. Do you know what I mean? And I think this journey is a very good one. I go back to Liverpool on Sunday for 2 weeks to team up with him, go into the Rotunda, get some sparring, and that gym's thriving. But like Swifty's alliterated like that, how much time and energy that he wants to put into me. He's also said that we can be flexible, so I don't always have to be in Liverpool. He can come to Portugal as well. So we can do camps here and there, and it's time. Like I thought it was time to take my career as I've always wanted to take my career, not be a number, not be like I want to be full attention. I deserve full attention. I've dedicated my whole life. I graft and graft and graft. Like even when I haven't got fights, I'm grafting. So to have someone who's going to give me 120% attention and develop me and is passionate like I am and not just there for the paycheck is what I needed. And I look at other fighters and other like American fighters, like the top of the top. That's what they have, and you need that to be at the top. You can't just be a number in a gym.
Charlie, two more from me. Just promotionally moving forward, I know that your relationship with Matchroom is not, I don't know if it ever sort of, I don't know what happened, so I
Yeah,
won't just put words out there, but
yeah,
it seems like from the fight week in Liverpool firsthand, I wasn't out there in Arizona, but I know yourself and Frank get on well from what I've seen. Your relationship with Eddie is still good. But then, I mean, you can never close any doors as to whoever you work with. But moving forward, do you have an idea? Have you had conversations? What can we expect? What shows can we expect to see you on this year?
Um, I I've I don't really want to be like, I've learned that you can't talk things until they're done.
Yeah,
You know, I've got a great relationship with everyone, and that's from the, like, I've never fallen out with anyone. Even when I left Matchroom, when I didn't fall out with them. Um, I've always got on with Eddie, always be at their shows. They've always sorted me tickets. I've always really got on with Frank Smith. We actually, when he was coming on the scene, he actually come over to Germany with me and was representing me from Matchroom before I fought Casemiro in just a warm up fight for it. And we've always had a good relationship, and we always got on. Sonny's there, he gets on. Is really good for Matchroom. So I would never say never. I've had conversations with Frank about potentially getting on some shows. So we'll see what comes about of that. I had a good conversation, sit down with him in America at Sonny's fight week. They took time to come and sit with me and have a proper conversation, and we addressed a few things, and it was very positive movements. Now Jason Maloney wants to fight and come to the UK. Who know what promoter's going to want to pick it up, you know? But like all the promoters are doing their own, doing good. Eddie's flying. Frank Warren's absolutely flying as well now. Sowlands are flying with Channel 5. Boxer are doing all right as well. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a powerful position to be in now, with no weights holding me down. I can speak freely and make big fights. I want big fights, and I'm willing to go anywhere for big fights. So if I don't get snapped up straight away from a promoter, I've got a brand, a name to make a big main event fight elsewhere. And but I've been having great conversations, and I've got a few conversations lined up this week. I don't want to say the names, which I'm really positive about, and hopefully we can get a fight as soon as possible. I'm only 6 weeks away from fighting a 12 rounder. What fighter does that? Who's been inactive for all this time? You know, I'm not here to play games. I'm here to create a legacy and here to chase multiple world titles, but as well giving the fans proper fights. Too many people are playing at this game.
I won't prod you any more on that then. I suppose just lastly, you mentioned you've always been a family man. Something that took a hit was your relationship with Sonny, but now that's back on track. You shared that moment with him in Arizona. I suppose just a reflection on the performance, very gutsy given the injury faced. Obviously, we know he'll have a little bit of time out the ring now while everything heals up and everything moving forward. But you know, like you say, just happy that you've got that relationship back on track, and he's doing good things in the sport as well.
Yeah, he's doing great things in the sport, and he's pulling in numbers and views, and he's taking fights that many people as champion would have sidestepped. Let's be real. He was either one or two in the division. He's number one now. He went for the top dog, and he put it all on the line. He travelled across the pond into his backyard. You know, he entertained everyone on the fight week. He sold the fight in the correct way. And yeah, the fight didn't go his way, but he showed a lot of guts and warrior code by sticking it in there and fighting 7 or 8 rounds with his eye socket broken, fractured. You know, we've seen many people swallow it straight away as soon as the eye goes. It's a dangerous injury to say the least. And when you can't see a pound for pound fighter properly, and you can see two of him, it's very hard to be able to adapt the tactics of probably which he wanted to kind of adapt with that sort of fighter. So yeah, he suffered a bit of unluckiness maybe, but Bam's a hell of a fighter, you know, and he deserves that #1 spot in the division. And Sonny will come back. Like, he's alliterated, he might go down to light flyweight. He makes the weight very comfortable at fly, to become a 2-weight world champion and then come back up. And I think the titles will be vacant when Bam moves up to super flyweight, you know. So yeah, he'll live, learn, brush himself down. I think the British public have taken a real shine to him because of how he actually handled the situation and carried on fighting and give the fans so much entertainment for value. And I'm sure Eddie would have loved it. I could see an interview saying that Sonny's stock has rose. Although you don't want to be in them kind of fights often, because it does take years off your career, and broken bones and stuff like that is not something you want to be taking damage like that. But Sonny will bounce back, and I've got full confidence that maybe in 2024 we could both be world champions at the same time.
Well, Charlie, I think that's about 37 minutes banked
I think this
between.
is the longest I've ever spoke on an interview. You got me right going, didn't
Hey,
you?
well, I'm happy, and thank you for sort of sharing this and sort of being able to go through everything in a way that you haven't done before with me. I appreciate that. Always lovely speaking to you, and I suppose now we just on your side, personal side, look forward to a big 2024. You're really up for it this year, and you know it feels like you got your mojo back.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and one thing I want to say is this boxing game and boxing business is a very hard game behind the scenes. We can't always alliterate everything out into the media. We've always got to be careful of what we say to put ourselves in a predicament. But I just want to say thank you, and I'm grateful for all the support, all the messages that continue asking me when I'm fighting and want to fight. Although I used to sometimes see it as a negative, it's actually a positive for me because it shows that I'm still loved and still wanted in the ring, and that for a fighter is great. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm grateful for everyone.
Charlie, top man, thank you for speaking to us at Boxing.
Thank you.
We need to think of a new advert for freebets.com.
Get your best betting offers from freebets.com.
Yeah, that'll do.
The following deals are now live.